Welcome to the America 20XY Week in Review. Today is Sunday, September 27th, 2009. Without wasting any time, we're going to get into our first story. The video that you saw as the show opened is from the G20 protests happening in Pittsburgh this week, and the article to go along with that is from Raw's story. No hoax. G20 cops in camouflage snatch protester. This is by Muriel Kane. G20 security officials took responsibility Friday afternoon for a video that seemed to depict U.S. troops kidnapping a protester. The military was not involved in the incident, but G20 security did acknowledge that law enforcement officers from multi-agency tactical response team had detained a protester they said was believed to be vandalizing a store. Video posted at YouTube shows onlookers calling out, "What the bleep?" and "What the bleep is wrong with you?" Try to keep this family-oriented. As people in camo uniforms haul a protester off by his collar, shove him into the back seat of a car, and rapidly drive off. Officials with G20 security released the following statement to Raw Story and other media outlets. Military members supporting the G20 summit work with local law enforcement authorities but do not have the authority to make arrests. The individuals involved in the 9/24/09 arrest, which has appeared online, are law enforcement officers from a multi-agency tactical response team assigned to the security operations for the G20. It is not unusual for tactical team members to wear camouflage fatigues. The type of fatigues the officers wear designates their unit affiliation. Prior to the arrest, the officers observed the subject vandalizing a local business. Due to the hostile nature of the crowd, officer safety, and safety of persons under arrest, the subject was immediately removed from the area. The video was featured this morning at the Drudge Report under the heading, "See U.S. Military Snatch Protester." At their liberal website, Democratic Underground, one commenter asserted this is staged, and then claimed those were not the uniforms of the National Guard military were wearing yesterday. Neither was that the vehicle they were driving. This was just a bunch of idiots trying to make some point. According to news reports, U.S. authorities assembled a security force of nearly 5,000 people to safeguard the event, including 2,500 National Guard troops, 1,200 state troopers, 875 Pittsburgh City police, and small groups of officers from other agencies. Police and National Guard troops headed off an unauthorized march by some 1,000 protesters on Thursday and eventually forced the crowd to scatter. The police reaction to the protests has been marked by what anti-war activist Cindy Sheehan calls profound overkill. I have been to dozens of protests, large and small, since my son was killed in Iraq, but I have never seen anything like today, Sheehan writes. There are easily 2 soldiers for every one of us protesters, or maybe even 3 to 1. Sheehan also witnessed the National Guard troops working with the local police and comments, "Seeing the National Guard troops fresh from Iraq broke my heart the hardest. I also talked to dozens of them. None had ever heard of Posse Comitatus, and asked them if my son, their brother, died in Iraq so they could steal the rights of his mother. Most of them wouldn't even look at me." Now, we're going to be covering more of what was going on at the G20 protests later on in the show, but I want to go to some of the things that were spoken about at the G20 protests. That brings us to our next headline. Obama threatens Iran over dramatic revelation of legal nuclear site that Iran itself disclosed to IAEA on Monday. Now, this article is from antiwar.com under the headline, "Obama, Iran is on notice, won't rule out military action." This is by Jason Ditz. Citing Iran's revelation earlier this week that it is constructing a second, smaller uranium enrichment facility, President Barack Obama demanded that the Iranian government come clean about his long-standing accusations of a nuclear weapons program and said he would not rule out attacking the nation if they refused. Obama said the second facility, reportedly an underground plant outside of Qom, was inconsistent with a peaceful program and claimed that the nation was breaking rules that all nations must follow. Despite these claims, it isn't apparent that Iran broke any rules with the facility. The IAEA only requires that it be informed 6 months before the facility is operational, which Iran apparently did on Monday. The IAEA has said the information it has been given suggests the facility, like Iran's current one, is only designed to enrich uranium to 5%, useful only for civilian purposes. The revelation is particularly irksome for the U.S., which was intending a dramatic unveiling of its existence today. This was on September 25th, only to learn that the IAEA had been told about it days ago. Despite despite having been beaten to the punch, officials and media outlets still touted it as the uncovering of a secret site. But was the site a provocation, as Western leaders have tried to spin it, or merely a hedge against attack? The Natanz facility in Isfahan province that is currently in operation is conspicuously above ground, while the new facility is hidden in the mountains further north. Less convenient and further away from Bushehr, to be sure, but it would add to the difficulty of Israel, which has repeatedly threatened to attack Iran, to destroy its entire nuclear program with an airstrike. Rather than thumbing their nose at the West, the facility might be designed to dissuade nations from launching an attack. And then there's another article here by Jason Ditz that repeats a lot of what's said in here, but raises some new points. As required, Iran informs IAEA about new enrichment site. This was on the same day. Western leaders reacted with a combination of indignation and outrage today when the International Atomic Energy Agency revealed that Iran had informed them it was in the process of constructing a second uranium enrichment facility. Several officials used the revelation as a call to action against the Iranian government just days before six-party talks with the nation about its civilian nuclear program. But despite a flurry of claims that the West had uncovered the secret facility, it seems unclear that Iran actually did anything wrong. The IAEA only actually requires that it be informed 6 months before an enrichment facility comes online, and the new site is at least that far from completion. Nuclear material has not been added, and the IAEA says that the data they've been given suggests that, as with the existing Nanats facility, the new site is only designed to enrich uranium to 5%, useful for energy production at the nation's Bushehr power plant, but not for military purposes. Western leaders are now demanding that UN inspectors be given access to the new site. Such a demand would be seemingly reasonable if Iran hadn't already promised to do so days ago to the IAEA and publicly said hours before the demands that they have every intention of doing so. If anything, the revelation coming from Iran is inopportune for the U.S. in pressing sanctions on the nation, as they had reportedly known about the construction for a few years, and were planning to use the revelation to spur their call for crippling sanctions when they discovered that Iran had already told the IAEA as required. Okay, and in completely unrelated news from a few days before these developments, we have this headline: Tehran dumps dollar for euro. This is from Arabian Business on September 22nd, 2009. Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has ordered the replacement of the U.S. dollar by the euro in calculating the value of the country's oil stabilization fund. The edict, issued on September 12th, follows a recommendation by the trustees of the country's foreign reserves, Iran's English-language daily, the Tehran Times, said on Monday, citing Iran's semi-official Mehr news agency. The move was taken because the government wishes to protect itself from the fragility of the U.S. economy and the weak dollar. The OSF, which forms part of Iran's foreign exchange reserves, is a contingency fund set aside to cushion the economy against fluctuating international oil prices. It is also used to help both the public and private sectors with their hard currency needs by extending loans. Press TV, meanwhile, reported that following the switch, the interstate rate for facilities provided from the foreign exchange reserves is to be cut to 5% from 12%. Since its introduction in 1999 by the EU, the euro has gained popularity internationally, and there are now more euros in circulation than the dollar. Going back to the protests taking place in the streets of the G20, we have this article from Infowars.com by Paul Joseph Watson. They have their own reporters down there on the scenes. National Guard, police, and other military units attacked American citizens with tear gas and deployed sound cannons today in response to an unpermitted protest, as bedlam hit the streets on the first day of the G20 summit in downtown Pittsburgh. The First Amendment is officially dead in the United States. If this isn't martial law, then we don't know what is. Associated Press photographs show National Guard troops in full fatigues with active duty military running checkpoints that make the roadblocks in Iraq positively friendly.